In late 2024, we finally got to see Robert Eggers' take on Nosferatu, essentially a reboot of a bootleg of a classic. Because you see, the creators of the original Nosferatu wanted to make an adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. But when Bram's will said no, they made their own knockoff version where they changed vampire to Nosferatu and Count Dracula to Count Orlok. And when the project was finished, they declared bankruptcy so they wouldn't have to pay the widow any rights fees in court. Because of this deception, all but one copy was burned. And because of this surviving copy, it has become a cult classic in the annals of horror history. Since then, it has been adapted into different films, and the latest adaptation comes from renowned director Robert Eggers. But when I went to go see it in the theater, the popcorn boy took so long to get my popcorn and drink, I ended up missing the first 2 minutes of this masterpiece. That motherfucker! So I saw it again the following week, and I'm glad I did, because those first few minutes completely changed the context of the story. But in the end, was the story really worth the hype? The horror fans loved it. The film critics hated it. But what do I think of it? Let's discuss it, shall we? Oh, and you need not worry. As much as I wanted to delve into the depths of this picture, I will refrain from any and all spoilers. This truly is something you must experience for yourself. And before I begin my review, there is something I must clarify. If you've spent any amount of time on the internet over the past month, you might have noticed lots of uneducated people making claims about scenes of horrific rape and visceral violence. But speaking as someone who has actually viewed it, this is not the case. Rather, the story is far more nuanced and tasteful than these journalists make it seem, because the Count rapes not your body, but your mind. So if you've come here looking for cheap thrills, then I suggest you look elsewhere. But if, however, you're looking for deep and thought-provoking storytelling that never shows more than what is needed, then you come to the right place. While everyone else has a definitive opinion about this film, I am quite divisive. So to start off, let's discuss what I do like about it. It begins with what can only be described as a nightmare, casting a dark shadow over the rest of the tale. Soon after, a young man named Thomas kisses his wife goodbye, then sets off for a simple business transaction. But this business is with a mysterious client known only as Count Orlok, and the framing of his journey emphasizes the great darkness he is now entering. Eggers makes you feel each and every step, and even the most simple of actions is given the greatest of weight. My personal favorite is when Thomas is entering a carriage, because beyond the door to the carriage there is only darkness, as if he were entering hell itself. And upon reaching the castle, the Count is only seen in shadow, always out of focus, and when his full form is finally revealed, the very sight of him instills fear into the viewer. Every scene he is in just demands your undivided attention, his very voice looming over you like the devil himself. Every frame is a work of art, complete with the best sound design in horror. Every footstep, every raspy breath, it's all captured so beautifully, and it's all held together with truly powerful writing. The subtle storytelling creates a sense of dread around Count Orlok, making him seem like the living embodiment of death. Every path he takes is marked with corpses, and the effect he has on the living is quite chilling. The strongest effect is on that of Professor Franz, played by the brilliant Willem Dafoe. As soon as he hears the name of Nosferatu, you can see genuine fear in his eyes. He tries to stay calm in order to help the people of the town, but it is still clear that he's afraid of something. He knows what is coming and what needs to be done. But the most terrifying visual is that of Ellen's possession, because the performance of Lily Rose Depp is so perfect. One might wonder if she truly is possessed. And Bill Skarsgård's portrayal of Count Orlok is unlike any other before him. His voice has a certain authority to it, and his appearance seems to have taken inspiration from figures like Rasputin. There's also subtle callbacks to the original Nosferatu in terms of visuals. The overall story also seems to be foreshadowing two different endings, as a way of leaving the viewer uncertain as to where it is going. Now, upon my initial viewing, I thought that the ending was rather lackluster, but after viewing it a second time, I now realize just how beautiful its conclusion truly was. A perfect ending to an almost perfect film. And I say almost perfect because, while there is a lot to love about this picture, there are some elements that I believe take away from it too much. Its first mistake was the way it introduced the Count. When Thomas met his lordship, the slow introduction to Count Orlok was filmed perfectly. But prior to this meeting, he was already shown in his full form, albeit very briefly. Because of this, the slow reveal is instantly diminished. Another element that I was surprised with is that while both Ellen and Thomas mention having nightmares, Eggers only ever shows one nightmare in the very beginning. So those lines of dialogue don't have as much weight to them as they should have. Finally, although every depiction of Dracula or Nosferatu has a ship, this version never gives a reason for it. I can't remember much of the original, as it has been far too long. But in this adaptation, Thomas travels to the castle on land. But when Count Orlok travels to the same city, he travels by boat. This does not make much sense to me, because it would have been far easier to go the same way Thomas did. But aside from these 30 elements of the story, I still think it is very much worth watching. It was a new and dark retelling of a classic story, with beautiful gothic visuals, chilling sound design, and performances from some of the best people Hollywood has to offer. By the time I release this review, it might not be in theaters anymore, but if it is, I suggest you take the time to view it. Greetings, my lord.